The phone screen glowed in the darkness, casting harsh blue light across Amara's face as she pressed play for the third time. Her hands trembled, but her expression remained still as stone. The video was everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Millions of views in less than 12 hours. Korean news outlets had already picked it up. American gossip sites were translating the captions. The world was watching her husband, one of Seoul's most feared underground kings, locked in a passionate embrace with young Mirai, an influencer with 3 million followers, and a smile that promised everything. The footage was crystal clear. No grainy security camera recording. This was professional quality, shot from multiple angles like a music video. Her husband's hand tangled in Mirai's hair, Mirai's laugh, breathy and victorious. The expensive hotel suite behind them, overlooking the Han River. The timestamp, 3 nights ago, while Amara had been home reading bedtime stories to their daughter. The next room, 4-year-old Zara slept peacefully, clutching the stuffed elephant her father had brought back from his last business trip. The same trip where this video was apparently filmed. Amara set the phone down carefully on the kitchen counter. Her wedding ring caught the light, a massive diamond that had once symbolized his promise to protect her forever. She stared at it for a long moment, then walked to the window overlooking the city. Seoul sparkled below, indifferent to her pain. Somewhere in those glittering towers, her husband was probably sleeping. Or perhaps he was awake too, watching his empire burn from the inside out, one viral video at a time. She didn't cry. Amara had learned years ago that tears were a luxury she couldn't afford. Instead, she began to think, to plan, to remember exactly who she had been before she became the wife of a king. That night, something shifted in the universe. That night, the most powerful man in Seoul's underworld lost the only thing that had ever kept him human. He just didn't know it yet. 6 years earlier, Amara had been nobody special, just another international graduate student in Seoul, studying business administration and working part-time at a cafe in Gangnam to pay her rent. She'd left Lagos with dreams of building something meaningful, of proving that a girl from a modest family could make it on her own terms. She hadn't been looking for love, certainly not the kind that came wrapped in danger and designer suits. He'd walked into the cafe on a Tuesday afternoon, flanked by 2 men in dark clothes who scanned the room like Secret Service agents. Everyone else had looked away immediately, that instinctive Korean response to recognizing power you shouldn't acknowledge. But Amara had been new to the city's unspoken rules. She'd simply smiled and asked what he wanted to drink. "Americano," he'd said, studying her face with an intensity that should have been unsettling. "Black. No sugar." "That sounds bitter," she'd replied, already reaching for a cup. The corner of his mouth had lifted. "I'm used to bitter." His name was Kang Joon-woo, though she wouldn't learn that until their 3rd meeting. What she learned first was that he came back every Tuesday. Always the same order. Always alone, though his guards waited outside. Always watching her with those dark eyes that seemed to see straight through her practiced cheerfulness into something deeper. On the 5th Tuesday, he'd asked her to dinner. "I don't date customers," she'd said. "I'm not asking you to date me. I'm asking you to eat food while I ask you questions about your life." That's literally the definition of a date. Then you do date customers. His smile had been genuine that time, transforming his severe features into something almost boyish. She'd said yes because something in his loneliness had called to something in hers. 2 people far from home, though his exile was self-imposed, and hers was geographical. Dinner had turned into breakfast 3 months later. Breakfast had turned into a key to his penthouse 6 months after that. He'd proposed on her birthday, in the same cafe where they'd met, with a ring that cost more than her entire education. "I'm not a good man," he'd told her that night, holding the ring but not yet offering it. The things I do, the world I live in, it's not pretty. It's not safe. I can give you everything money can buy, but I can't give you normal. I can't give you simple. I need you to understand what you'd be saying yes to. Amara had looked at this powerful, dangerous man who had somehow become gentle with her, who read poetry when he couldn't sleep, and who'd memorized every story she'd told him about her childhood in Lagos. She'd seen the darkness in him, yes, but she'd also seen the part that was desperately trying not to drown in it. I don't want simple, she'd said. I want you. The wedding had been small, private, attended only by people Joon-woo trusted, with his life. Amara's parents had flown in from Nigeria, her mother crying through the entire ceremony, her father gripping Joon-woo's hand and making him promise in Yoruba to always protect their daughter. Joon-woo had hired a translator specifically to understand and respond to that promise. With my life, he'd said in careful, practiced Yoruba, I swear it. For 3 years, he'd kept that promise. Their marriage existed in a strange bubble. Joon-woo's violent world on one side, their quiet home life on the other, and Amara standing in between as the bridge between his two selves. She knew what he did. How could she not? The late-night calls, the blood on his shirts that the housekeepers were trained to handle without comment, the news reports about gang violence in districts where he'd had meetings the night before. But at home, he was different. He cooked her breakfast on Sundays. He learned to braid Zara's hair by watching YouTube tutorials. He fell asleep during animated movies and denied it afterward. He was a father who played peekaboo and a husband who still kissed her forehead before leaving for work, no matter what that work entailed. Amara had made her peace with the contradiction. She didn't ask about the details of his business. He didn't lie to her about the general shape of it. They existed in an unspoken agreement. She would be his sanctuary, and he would keep the darkness from touching their home. Until the video. Sitting at her kitchen counter in the dark, Amara understood that the agreement had shattered. The darkness hadn't just touched their home, it had flooded in, drowning everything they'd built. The humiliation was global. By morning, the video had 20 million views. News helicopters circled their building. Paparazzi camped outside the garage entrance. Her phone exploded with messages, pitying texts from the few friends she'd made in Seoul, gleeful messages from people she'd never met, news outlets requesting interviews with the betrayed wife. Young Mirai was trending worldwide. She'd posted a selfie an hour after the video dropped, looking satisfied and flawless, with the caption, "Some queens wear crowns, some just take them." The comments were vicious. Half called Amara a fool for not seeing it coming. The other half called her names for staying with a criminal. Nobody defended her. Nobody asked if she was okay. Joon-woo's organization was in chaos. Amara watched the news coverage with detached fascination. Rival gangs sensing weakness, business partners demanding meetings. The police, who'd always looked the other way for the right price, suddenly very interested in investigating certain properties. Her husband's empire was fracturing, and the world was eating popcorn while they watched. Amara fed Zara breakfast, plaited her hair, sang her favorite songs. When Zara asked why Daddy didn't come home last night, Amara smiled and said he was working. When Zara asked why people with cameras were outside, Amara said they were taking pictures of the building. Children believed what you told them. It was adults who complicated everything with truth. At noon, Joon-woo's head of security, a stone-faced man named Kim, appeared at her door. "Mrs. Kang, I'm to escort you and the young miss to a secure location." "I'm not going anywhere." "The situation outside is escalating. Mr. Kang insists." "Where is my husband, Mr. Kim?" Kim's jaw tightened. "He's handling the situation." "Which situation?" The business crisis or his mistress? The security chief had the grace to look uncomfortable. "Mrs. Kang, please. It's not safe here." Amara had studied the man in front of her. Kim had been with Joon-woo for over a decade. He'd been at their wedding. He'd taught Zara to ride a bicycle. He was loyal to the bone. "Mr. Kim, I need you to answer me honestly. Did you know about her?" The pause was answer enough. "How long?" "Mrs. Kang?" "How long?" Kim closed his eyes. 6 months. 6 months. Wally, she was pregnant with their second child. A pregnancy that had ended in miscarriage at 12 weeks, leaving her hollow and grieving while Joon-woo held her through the worst of it. Or had he? How many of those late nights, handling business, had actually been spent with Young Mirai? "Leave," Amara said quietly. "I can't do that." Mr. Kang ordered. "Tell Mr. Kang his orders don't mean anything to me anymore." She'd closed the door in Kim's face and locked it. Then she'd gone to the bedroom she'd shared with her husband, pulled out the suitcases she'd brought from Lagos 6 years ago, and started packing. Zara watched from the doorway, elephant clutched to her chest. "Mommy, where are we going?" Amara had looked at her daughter, this perfect little person with her father's eyes and her mother's smile, innocent and untouched by the ugliness of the adult world. "We're going on an adventure, my love, just you and me." "When is Daddy coming?" Amara's hands had stilled on the clothing she was folding. "Daddy has to stay here for work, but we're going to go somewhere new, somewhere special." "Will Daddy visit?" The question broke something in Amara's chest, but she smiled, because that's what mothers did. They smiled and made everything seem okay even when the world was ending. "Maybe someday," she said. She'd packed methodically. Clothes, documents, Zara's favorite toys. She'd left behind everything Joon-woo had given her. The jewelry, the designer bags, the expensive dresses. She took only what was hers. At midnight, when the paparazzi had thinned and the news helicopters had gone home, Amara had carried her sleeping daughter to the car. The building's service entrance was unguarded. She'd specifically asked Kim to reassign those men hours ago, claiming she wanted privacy. He'd complied, never suspecting she was planning to run. Before she left, Amara had walked back into the penthouse one final time. She'd stood in the center of the living room where she'd danced, with Joon-woo on their first night in this apartment, where they'd celebrated Zara's first steps, where they'd built a life that was supposed to mean something. She'd removed her wedding ring and placed it on the kitchen counter, right next to the phone where she'd first watched the video that destroyed everything. No note, no explanation. He was brilliant. He'd understand. Then Amara had walked away from the empire, the king, and the crown she'd never wanted anyway. By the time Kang Joon-woo returned home 36 hours later, unshaven and exhausted from putting out fires in his crumbling organization, she was gone. He'd found the ring first, that cold piece of metal sitting on the counter like an accusation. Then he'd noticed the silence. The apartment was too quiet. Zara's laugh didn't echo through the halls. Amara's presence, that warm, steady energy that made this place a home instead of just another property, was absent. Joon-woo had checked every room, knowing already what he'd find. Empty closets, missing toys, the space where Amara's photos had been, now bare walls. He'd stood in Zara's room, staring at the bed where his daughter was supposed to be sleeping, and felt something crack inside his chest. His phone was already in his hand. "Kim, get everyone to the penthouse. Now." They'd arrived within minutes. Kim, his tech specialist Lee, his financial advisor Park, his attorney Young, the inner circle, the people who ran his empire. Joon-woo had looked at each of them with eyes that promised violence. "Where is my wife?" Silence. "Where is my wife?" Kim stepped forward. "Sir, we're already tracking." You were supposed to be watching her. I gave you one fucking job." She dismissed the security detail. Joon-woo's hand had shot out, grabbing Kim by the throat and slamming him against the wall. The other men tensed, but didn't move. They knew better than to interfere when their boss was like this. "My wife and daughter are gone," Joon-woo said, his voice deadly quiet. "Gone because everyone in this room was too busy handling my PR disaster to do your actual jobs. Someone find them, now, or I start replacing people." He'd released Kim, who gasped and nodded. Lee spoke up, his laptop already open. "Sir, her phone is off. No credit card activity. She hasn't accessed any bank accounts. What about her passport? Still in the safe." Joon-woo's eyes narrowed. "Check again." Lee's fingers flew over the keyboard. "The building's security footage shows her leaving through the service entrance at 0047. She was carrying 2 suitcases and the child. She got into a cab. We lost the trail at Gangnam Station. She's using cash," Park said. "Smart, harder to track." Joon-woo had moved to the window, looking out at Seoul sprawling below. His city, his empire. None of it meant anything if Amara wasn't there. "She's not just running," he said quietly. "She's disappearing. She planned this." "With respect, sir," Young ventured. "Perhaps it's best to give her some space. The situation with Young Mirai has created..." Joon-woo's fist shattered the window. Glass exploded outward. Blood dripped from his knuckles, but he didn't seem to notice. "Get out. All of you. Except Kim." The others fled. Kim remained, hand pressed to his bruised throat. When they were alone, Joon-woo spoke without turning around. "Tell me about Mirai. Everything." "Sir, you know something. I can see it on your face. Tell me." Kim hesitated, then sighed. "The video, sir. It was too clean, too professional. The angles, the editing. Someone planned this. It wasn't just leaked, it was produced." Joon-woo turned slowly. "Keep talking." "We've been going through the metadata. The video was edited by a professional studio. The kind that does work for entertainment companies, not amateur influencers. Someone hired them specifically to make this footage. Who? We don't know yet. But sir, there's something else. Young Mirai's account received a wire transfer of 500 million won the day before the video dropped, from an offshore account we can't trace." The pieces were starting to come together in Joon-woo's mind. "Someone paid her to seduce me and go public with it. It appears that way. And they did it to hurt Amara, to drive her away." Kim said nothing, which was confirmation enough. Joon-woo's voice dropped to a whisper. "Find out who did this, and find my wife. I don't care what it costs. I don't care who you have to threaten or bribe or hurt. Find them." "Yes, sir." "And Kim, when you find who orchestrated this, don't kill them. Bring them to me. I want to do it myself." Over the next weeks, Kang Joon-woo transformed from a controlled, strategic leader into something barely human. His organization had never seen him like this. Unhinged, violent, paranoid. A lieutenant who suggested they focus on business instead of the search ended up in the hospital with 3 broken ribs. A rival gang who tried to use the chaos to encroach on his territory found their entire leadership dead within 48 hours. He stopped sleeping, stopped eating. Every waking moment was consumed with finding Amara and Zara. His people scoured the country. They checked every airport, every train station, every bus terminal. They monitored social media, facial recognition systems, immigration databases. Nothing. It was as if Amara had vanished into thin air. Meanwhile, his empire was bleeding. Key allies were defecting. Police raids were becoming more frequent. The video had made him look weak, and in his world, weakness was fatal. But Joon-woo didn't care about any of it. He would burn everything to the ground if it meant getting his family back. Park had tried to reason with him. "Sir, we're losing millions every day. If you don't refocus on the business, then we lose millions," Joon-woo had snarled. Money means nothing without them. But the organization needs you to. The organization exists because I built it. I can burn it down just as easily. It was during one of these increasingly dark days that Lee discovered something. Sir, I found something odd in the financial records. Joon-woo looked up from the map of Asia he'd been studying, tracking possible routes Amara might have taken. What? Your personal accounts. There have been regular withdrawals over the past 6 months. Small amounts, never enough to trigger alerts. But they add up to almost 200 million won. I didn't authorize any withdrawals. I know, sir. But they were made using your access codes. Someone who knew your passwords. Who has access to those codes? Lee's expression was grim. Only people in this room, your inner circle. Joon-woo stood slowly. You're telling me someone I trust has been embezzling from me? It's worse than that, sir. I traced where the money went. It was transferred to the same offshore account that paid Young Mirai. The room went silent. Someone in my inner circle orchestrated the video, Joon-woo said, slowly. They paid Mirai to seduce me and go public. They wanted to destroy my marriage. It appears so. Who? Lee pulled up a file on his laptop. Based on the access logs and the timing of the transfers, there are only 2 people it could be. Park or Young. Both men in question had gone pale. It's not me, Park stammered. Sir, I would never… Young's phone rang. She glanced at the screen, then silenced it. But the momentary flash of panic in her eyes told Joon-woo everything. Answer it, he said quietly. Sir, it's just… Answer. The phone. Young had looked like she wanted to run, but she was surrounded by armed men loyal to Joon-woo. Running wasn't an option. She answered. Put it on speaker. Jung Mirai's voice filled the room. Did you handle it? Is he still looking for the wife? Attorney Young closed her eyes. Oh, Mirai continued, oblivious. I should get my second payment soon, right? Our agreement was half up front, half when the divorce was… Joon-woo grabbed the phone and hurled it against the wall, shattering it. Then he'd looked at Attorney Young, the woman who had handled his legal affairs for 8 years, who he'd trusted with his most sensitive business, who had been like family. Why? His voice was barely above a whisper. Young's composure cracked. Because she didn't deserve you. Because I loved you first. Before her. Before all of this. I was there, Joon-woo. I built this empire with you. And you chose some foreign girl who didn't understand your world, who didn't understand you the way I do. You destroyed my marriage because you wanted me for yourself. I saved you from her. She was making you soft, making you weak. You're the most powerful man in Seoul, and you were reading bedtime stories and cooking breakfast like some domestic servant. Joon-woo had moved toward her slowly, and Young had backed away until she hit the wall. You took my family from me. I freed you from… His hands closed around her throat. You took my family from me. Kim had intervened then, pulling Joon-woo back before he killed her. Sir, we need her alive. She might know where Amara went. Joon-woo had released Young, who collapsed to the floor, gasping. Talk, he said, or I let go of the chain on my restraint. Young had coughed, tears streaming down her face. I don't know where she is, I swear. The plan was just to break you two up. I didn't think she'd run. I thought she'd divorce you, and then you could what? Step in, comfort me, make me forget the love of my life. I've loved you for 10 years, and I loved her from the moment I saw her. You never had a chance. You were never even a consideration. The words had been cruel, but they were honest. Young crumpled, finally understanding that her obsession had been one-sided all along. Joon-woo had turned to Kim. Lock her up. I'll decide what to do with her later. Right now. I have a wife to find." But finding Amara proved harder than crushing his enemies. Lee's team tracked her to Incheon Airport, where she'd apparently bought tickets using cash from a broker. But the trail went cold after that. Too many possible destinations. Too many flights she could have taken. Joon-woo had stood in that airport, in the same terminal where his wife had presumably fled, and felt truly helpless for the first time in his adult life. He could kill anyone, buy anything, destroy empires. But he couldn't find the one person who mattered. Months passed, then a year, then 2. Joon-woo's search never stopped, but it became less frantic, more systematic. He had teams in place monitoring immigration databases, international schools, hospitals. Anywhere Amara might surface with a 4-year-old, then 5-year-old, then 6-year-old daughter. His organization stabilized, but he was different. Harder. Colder. The gentleman who'd existed in private with Amara was gone, replaced entirely by the ruthless king. He'd had Young killed. Quietly, cleanly, in a way that sent a message to anyone else who might think of betraying him. Young Mirai had tried to leverage her fame into a career, but Joon-woo destroyed that too. Every endorsement deal she signed mysteriously fell through. Every club she tried to enter refused her. She'd eventually fled to LA, broke and broken. But revenge tasted like ash when Amara wasn't there to see it. Then, on a Tuesday afternoon 3 years after Amara had left, Lee burst into Joon-woo's office. "We found her." Joon-woo's heart stopped. "Where?" "Accra. Ghana. She's been there the whole time, living under her mother's maiden name. She works at an NGO. Zara's enrolled in a local international school." "Are you certain it's them?" Lee turned his laptop around. Security camera footage from a school pickup showed a woman and a child. The woman wore her hair natural now, dressed simply in jeans and a colorful African print top. But the face was unmistakable. Amara. And beside her, a little girl who'd grown so much, she barely resembled the toddler Joon-woo remembered, but he'd know his daughter anywhere. "Book me a flight," he said. "Tonight." "Sir, perhaps you should consider." "Tonight, Lee." Joon-woo arrived in Accra with only Kim for security. He didn't want to overwhelm her, didn't want to seem threatening. He just wanted to see her, talk to her, beg if he had to. They found her. Home. A modest apartment in a quiet neighborhood. Nothing like the luxury of Seoul. But through the window, Joon-woo could see warm light, hear laughter. His daughter was laughing. He knocked on the door. When Amara opened it, the world stopped. She'd changed. Her hair was cut short and natural. Her face had lost some of the youthful softness he remembered. She looked older, wiser, and somehow more beautiful for it. Her eyes widened when she saw him. "Joon-woo." "Amara, can I come in?" She glanced back into the apartment, where Zara was visible playing with blocks on the floor, then back at him. "No, but I'll step out." She closed the door behind her, and they stood in the hallway that smelled like cooking spices and life. "How did you find us?" "It took 3 years, but I never stopped looking." "You should have. You're my wife. I was your wife. Past tense. Amara, please. I need to explain." "There's nothing to explain. I saw the video. The whole world saw it. It was a setup. Attorney Young orchestrated the whole thing. She paid Mirai to seduce me and film it. I swear to you, I didn't know I was being recorded. I didn't know, but you did sleep with her." The truth hung between them, ugly and undeniable. "Yes," Joon-woo said quietly. "I did. And I've regretted it every second since." "Do you know what hurt the most?" Amara's voice was steady, but her eyes glistened. "Not the cheating itself. It was the humiliation. The whole world watching me be made a fool. My parents saw that video, Joon-woo. My mother called me crying. Strangers were sending me messages, telling me to know my place, that I should have expected this, that I wasn't enough for you. You were always enough. You were everything. Then why wasn't I enough to keep you faithful? Joon-woo had no answer for that, no excuse that wouldn't sound hollow. I became someone I hated, he said finally. The life I lived, the things I did. You were the only thing keeping me human. When I was with you and Zara, I could pretend I was just a normal man with a normal family. But when I was out there, in that world, I was someone else. Someone capable of terrible things. And Young Mirai was part of that world. She understood the darkness in a way you never could. So you're saying it's my fault? For being too good for you? No. God, no. I'm saying I was weak. I'm saying I made a choice that destroyed everything that mattered. I'm saying I've spent 3 years trying to fix it. You can't fix this. Let me try. Please. Come back to Seoul. Both of you. I'll do whatever you need. Therapy, counseling, a complete separation of my business and personal life. I'll leave the organization entirely if that's what it takes. Amara laughed, but there was no humor in it. You think I want to come back? To that life? To being the mafia wife who everyone pities? To raising my daughter in a world of violence and lies? Our daughter. My daughter. You lost the right to claim her when you betrayed us. The words hit him like bullets. Please, Joon-woo said, and he didn't care that he was begging. Please don't take her from me. I'll stay away from you if that's what you want. I'll give you anything, money, properties, freedom. But let me be her father. Let me know her. The apartment door opened. Zara stood there in pajamas covered in cartoon stars. Mommy, who are you talking? She stopped when she saw Joon-woo, stared at him with the same dark eyes she'd inherited. Do I know you? She asked in English, her Korean apparently forgotten. The question shattered what was left of Joon-woo's heart. Zara, go back inside, Amara said gently. But Mommy. Now, baby. Zara obeyed, casting one more curious glance at the strange man before disappearing inside. She doesn't remember me, Joon-woo whispered. She was 4 when we left. Children forget. Amara, please. You need to leave, Joon-woo. We've built a life here. A good life. Peaceful. Safe. And I won't let you destroy that the way you destroyed everything else. I'm her father. Her father was a man who read her bedtime stories and built pillow forts. Her father was someone I thought I knew. You? You're a stranger who looks like him. Joon-woo felt tears burning in his eyes, something he hadn't allowed himself since childhood. Don't do this. Don't erase me like I never existed. Amara's composure finally cracked. You erased yourself. You chose that influencer over your family. You chose your empire over us. You don't get to show up 3 years later and demand forgiveness. I'm not demanding. I'm begging. They stood there in the hallway, 3 feet apart but separated by an ocean of hurt. Finally, Amara spoke, her voice weary. Go home, Joon-woo. Go back to Seoul and your empire and your power. That's all you really care about anyway. That's not true. You and Zara are all I care about. If that were true, you would have thought about that before you cheated. Before you let someone use me as a pawn in their game. Before you let our marriage become a spectacle for millions of people to mock. She turned to go back inside. Amara, wait. She paused. Just tell me one thing. Did you ever love me? Or was I just another mistake? Amara looked back at him, and for a moment, he saw the girl he'd met in that cafe years ago. The one who'd smiled at him and made him believe he could be more than just a criminal. I loved you, more than I've ever loved anyone, she said softly. That's why this hurts so much. If I hadn't loved you, I could have stayed, could have lived with the cheating and the humiliation and everything else. but I loved you too much to watch you destroy us both." "Past tense," Joon-woo noted. "Past tense," she confirmed. Then she went inside and closed the door, leaving him alone in the hallway. Joon-woo stood there for a long time, staring at that closed door. Behind it was everything he'd lost, everything that mattered. Kim approached, cautiously. "Sir? What do you want to do?" What did he want to do? Storm the apartment? Demand his rights as a father? Use his money and power to force Amara back to Seoul? He could do all of those things. He was Kang Joon-woo. He took what he wanted and crushed anyone who got in his way. But Amara wasn't an enemy to be crushed. She was the woman he loved, and Zara was his daughter, innocent and undeserving of being torn between her parents. "We're leaving," he said finally. "Sir? Call the plane. We're going back to Seoul." "But she's right, Kim. She's built a good life here, a safe life. And I have no right to destroy that just because I miss them." "What about your daughter?" "She's better off without me, without my world. Amara was trying to tell me that for years, but I was too arrogant to listen." They'd walked away from the apartment building, leaving behind the only future that had ever mattered to Joon-woo. On the flight back to Seoul, Kim had asked, "What happens now, sir?" Joon-woo stared out the window at the clouds below. "Now, I live with the consequences of my choices. I built an empire, Kim. I control half of Seoul. I have money, power, influence, and none of it means anything without them. There has to be something we can do." "There is. We leave them alone. We let them be happy. That's what someone who actually loves them would do." It was the hardest decision Joon-woo had ever made, harder than any kill order or business takeover. Walking away from Amara and Zara felt like cutting out his own heart, but he did it anyway, because that's what love really was, not possession, not control, but wanting someone to be happy, even if that happiness didn't include you. Back in Seoul, Joon-woo threw himself into business with renewed focus. He rebuilt what had crumbled during his years of obsession, expanded territories, crushed rivals, became more powerful than ever. But the penthouse where he'd lived with Amara remained untouched. He couldn't bring himself to change it, or sell it, or even visit it. It existed like a mausoleum to a life that was gone. His people noticed the change in him. He was harder now, more ruthless. The humanity Amara had brought out in him was buried deep, probably forever. Sometimes, late at night, he'd search Zara's name on social media. He'd find photos that Amara posted. Zara at school events, birthday parties, the beach, growing up without him. Each photo was a knife to his heart. But he never reached out, never tried to interfere. He'd made his choice years ago when he'd betrayed his family. Now he was living with it. 2 years after his trip to Accra, Joon-woo received an envelope. No return address. Postmarked from Ghana. Inside was a single photograph. Zara on her 9th birthday, blowing out candles on a cake. She was smiling, surrounded by friends. Happy. On the back, in Amara's handwriting, "She asks about you sometimes. I tell her you love her, even from far away. Thank you for staying. Away. It's the kindest thing you've ever done for us." Joon-woo had held that photograph for hours, memorizing every detail of his daughter's face. Then he'd put it in his wallet, right next to the wedding photo of him and Amara. Reminders of what he'd lost, what he'd destroyed, what he could never get back. He never responded to the letter, never sent birthday gifts or money, or anything that might disrupt their peace. He just loved them from a distance and lived with the emptiness they'd left behind. Years passed. Joon-woo's empire grew. His reputation became legendary. People feared him, respected him, obeyed him. But he was alone. No wife, no daughter. No one who knew the man beneath the king. Sometimes he wondered if he should have fought harder, refused to leave Accra, used his resources to force a relationship with Zara. But deep down, he knew Amara was right. His world was toxic, violent, dangerous. Zara was better off without it, better off without him. On the 10th anniversary of the day Amara had left, Joon-woo sat in his office overlooking Seoul. The city sparkled below, a kingdom he'd conquered. But kingdoms meant nothing when you had no one to share them with. He'd ruled empires and crushed armies. He'd built wealth and power beyond measure. But he'd lost the only kingdom that mattered, the one that existed in a small apartment in Seoul, where a woman had loved him and a child had called him daddy. That kingdom was gone, destroyed by his own hand, and no amount of power or money or violence could bring it back. The story of Kang Joon-woo wasn't a triumph, it was a tragedy, a cautionary tale about a man who had everything and lost it all because he forgot what mattered. He would spend the rest of his life remembering, and that was his real punishment. Not death, not defeat, but memory. The memory of what he'd had, what he'd destroyed, what he could never reclaim. In the end, the video didn't destroy the king. The king destroyed himself. If this story moved you, hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment telling me what you would have done in Amara's place. Would you have stayed or left? And smash that like button if you believe some mistakes can never be forgiven. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.